There's a question that's haunted men for centuries. What's the fastest path to riches? Most waste their lives searching, but the truth has always been in plain sight. The rich know it. That's why they keep it hidden. Because if you knew it, you'd stop playing their game and start building your own. Understand this. Wealth doesn't fall to the smartest man in the room. It doesn't fall to the hardest worker either. If that were true, teachers, nurses, construction workers, they'd be billionaires. But they're not. Money flows to the one who understands power and knows how to turn that power into gold. Machiavelli, the mind behind The Prince, laid this out centuries ago. He said wealth follows those who can command others, who can bend situations to their will, who can see opportunity before anyone else. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people will never be rich, not because they lack ability, but because they're trapped in the wrong mindset. They think wealth comes from safety, from staying at one job for 40 years, from saving pennies like misers. Machiavelli would laugh at that. He'd say, fortune belongs to the bold, to the man willing to risk everything, to the one who dares where others hesitate. So burn this into your mind. Safe is slow. Bold is fast. The man who does what others fear, he's the one who rises quickest. Think about it. When someone suddenly explodes into wealth, one year they're unknown, the next year they're everywhere, running companies, making headlines, living in mansions. It looks like magic, but it isn't. It's strategy. They're using principles as old as war, and today we're going to break them down, Machiavelli style. Let's start with the mistake that keeps men poor. Most think wealth comes from working harder, more hours, more hustle, as if exhaustion leads to riches. But here's the brutal truth. Hard work alone keeps you trapped. Look around you. The hardest workers often earn the least. Why? Because their effort is being sold to someone else. They trade their time for scraps, while the rich trade ideas and influence for empires. Machiavelli would say, the man who labors for another is always a servant. The man who makes others labor for him is always a master. That's the difference. And it's why the masses stay broke. They search for wealth in the wrong places. They sell labor instead of building leverage. So what's the real principle? Simple. Control creates wealth. If you want to be rich fast, stop moving with your muscles. Start moving with your decisions. The rich don't just work, they position, they lead, they own, they influence. And here's the psychology behind it. Humans don't follow equals, they follow leaders. When you project certainty, when you act with boldness, when you move without hesitation, people rally. They give you their time, their energy, their money. And once you control that flow, you can multiply it endlessly. That's why power and influence create wealth 10 times faster than labor ever will. Now let's talk about what happens if you choose the wrong path. If you pick the safe route, if you spend 40 years at a job, you're not building wealth, you're building a cage. You'll retire with just enough to survive. That's not freedom, that's slavery, with a pension. And the worst part? You gave your best years to build someone else's empire. Then you'll ask yourself, why them? Why not me? And you'll think it's luck. It's not luck. It's design. The rich set up the game this way. Every move you make feeds their palace, not yours. And unless you wake up, you'll keep building kingdoms for kings while you live in a cage of your own making. So what's the alternative? Stop thinking like a servant. Start thinking like a prince. Don't ask, how can I make money? Ask, how can I build power? Because power attracts money like gravity. When you control attention, when you control resources, when you control opportunity, wealth rushes in. That's why rulers, CEOs, and empire builders didn't get there by working harder. They got there by seizing control, by entering arenas most fear to enter, and by striking when the moment was right. So what are the tactics? Build leverage, not labor. Own something, a business, a system, assets that grow without your presence. Be bold, move without hesitation. Fortune doesn't wait for the timid. Control perception, appear powerful, appear unshakable. Influence will multiply your riches. Cut dead weight. If your environment is a cage, walk out. Seek arenas where power is up for grabs. When you do this, something shifts. Suddenly, others chase you. They sense momentum. They sense power. They sense you create opportunities. Investors call you. Customers follow you. Partners beg for your time. That's the moment when money chases you, instead of the other way around. But be warned, the rise is not gentle. When you move fast, you'll face envy. You'll face doubt. But remember this, resistance proves your power. If no one is trying to stop you, you're not moving bold enough. Now let's take it further. Sometimes the fastest way to wealth is not to build, but to seize. History proves this. Great fortunes weren't always built from scratch. They were taken, buying competitors, dominating markets, claiming resources no one dared to touch. Boldness often means capturing, not just creating. But the average man never sees these openings. He's too busy working, too busy obeying, too busy playing safe. That's why he stays broke. So burn this into your mind. To rise quickly, stop thinking like a worker. Start thinking like a strategist. Your mind must be sharper than your hands. Your courage louder than your fears. Your moves bolder than your peers. That's the line between the rich and the rest. Once you stop chasing money and start building power, you become unforgettable. Opportunities can't ignore you. Wealth flows in faster than others can comprehend. They'll call you ruthless. They'll call you lucky. But you'll know the truth. You played the game the way it was meant to be played, Machiavelli's way. The chains that hold you are not iron. They're invisible. Debt, addictions, empty ambition, the need for recognition. Slavery today wears no shackles. It hides in contracts, in paychecks, in lifestyles you cannot escape. And the harsh truth? You agreed to it. The elite don't rule with swords anymore. They rule with offers you couldn't refuse, loans, jobs, trends, dreams. Machiavelli warned of this, that the strongest prisons are built from desires. A man who cannot say no, cannot rule himself. The world dangles temptations, status symbols, quick victories, shiny cages, and one by one, most men step inside and close the door themselves. This is rule 1. Refuse the chains you cannot see. Because the rich don't just earn more. They escape faster. They own their time. They turn offers down. They choose their own bonds. The poor man thinks freedom comes with wealth. But wealth without discipline is another prison. Machiavelli understood. The first law of power is self-mastery. If you cannot deny yourself, you'll never deny the world. The man with fewer needs cannot be bought. The man with fewer vices cannot be controlled. Look at history. The rulers who lasted were not the ones chasing more, but the ones who could endure with less. Discipline is wealth, restraint is armor, and silence is often the strongest shield. When others beg for recognition, stay invisible. When they compete for crumbs, refuse the game, because the true game of power is subtraction. Remove dependency, remove craving, remove noise. Only then can you act freely. This is rule 2. The less you need, the stronger you are. Most men think freedom is doing whatever they want, but Machiavelli knew better. Freedom is the ability to walk away. The rich don't flaunt their chains, They don't chase applause. They vanish when they must. And they move unseen. So when you look at your own life, ask yourself, what owns me? What do I serve? And who profits from my weakness? Break that, and you break the silent empire that feeds on your obedience. Because real wealth is not loud, it's invisible. It's the space you control, the offers you reject, the voice inside that cannot be bought. This is the code Machiavelli left behind, not advice for the crowd, but a warning for the few. The rulers of tomorrow are not the ones chasing everything, but the ones disciplined enough to walk away from anything. So ask yourself, are you building freedom or are you decorating your cage? The choice is yours.